The lovers were learning about physiology in the corner, but the next moment, the alien ship made an emergency landing. Firelight with smoke glides to Moscow City. People were swallowed up by the huge wave of smoke when they couldn't avoid it. Devastating blow to roads and buildings. A few minutes ago, a rare meteor shower appeared in the sky over Russia. People took to the streets and raised their phones to record the historic moment. Little did they know that an alien spacecraft was among the swarm of meteors passing by. The Russian fleet was the first to detect the unidentified object and immediately sent fighter jets to communicate with the air, but the other side did not respond in time. Seeing that the ship was getting closer to the ground, the military ordered fighter jets to fire missiles and hit the target, and so the alien spacecraft that had strayed onto Earth was forced to land. But the crowd watching the meteor shower knew nothing about it. It was only when the spaceship was approaching and the cell phone signal was abnormal that they realized were running away in panic. Julia and her boyfriend Tyoma were lucky to escape because they had a bedboard to support them, but her best friend was not so lucky and was directly hit head-on by the spaceship. No bones of the dead. By the time the airship came to a complete stop, the area was in ruins, with numerous people killed and injured. The attack attracted the attention of the Russian military. The military was immediately dispatched to seal off the site from all sides. To find out what the aliens were up to, Colonel Lebedev and representatives of Congress took the initiative to talk to the aliens. The aliens told Lebedev through their consciousness that their ship had malfunctioned and that's why it was in the sky over the Earth. They will leave as soon as the ship is repaired. In the meantime, the human race can avoid more casualties if humans don't attack. However, top Congress is in an extreme to take the alien ship and study it in depth, and Lebedev strongly opposes this, in case the alien ship carries advanced destructive weapons. If the two sides fight, the human race will not be able to escape the fate of extinction. For the sake of the overall situation, the top brass finally decided to wait and see what would happen. A defense line is built around the ship, and air and land forces are deployed to monitor it around the clock. At the same time, to alleviate the public's fears, the government falsely claimed that the alien creatures were only coming to settle for some time and were not harmful. But with the ruins of the city still there and the reality of the families in ruins right in front of them, people didn't believe such a claim. Julia's reaction is particularly violent, as she has been plotting revenge since she woke up from her coma and learned of her best friend's accidental death. She decided that the aliens were the killers, not know that the Russian fleet led by her father had caused such an outcome. If they hadn't fired the missiles that hit the ship, there might not have been many victims, but Julia can't do the task alone, so she calls on her boyfriend, Tyoma. Tyoma takes a group of her friends and cautiously breaks into the vigilance area at night. Julia went straight to her best friend's accident site and looked at the photo of them buried in the rubble. Sadness comes to mind. Before she could brew tears, there was a sudden movement next to her, and an alien creature crawled up. Julia was so frightened that she pulled out her pistol and fired but accidentally stepped on the air. When her life was in danger, the evil alien reached out and grabbed her firmly. She looked at the flashing blue light of the alien mecha, and a handsome human face suddenly appeared. She can't help but be obsessed. At that moment, Julia's teammates, who heard her scream, arrived quickly. Immediately, the alien was a good beating. The alien's unsteady, fell from the top of the building, and crashed into a clothing store. Tyoma woke Julia up and chased her to the bottom of the building with a few people, only to find a pair of shape matches, a mysterious disc, and a small amount of blood dripping from the ground. Tyoma picked up a little blood and found that the color and smell were no different from human blood. Could this alien be an ordinary person pretending to be a human? He did not have time to think about it and immediately called on his companions to cut the armor, ready to disassemble and take it away. But the mechs were invulnerable to guns and swords. What's worse, the patrol arrived, so they had to give up the mysterious disc. Together they moved the mechs back to the secret base. During this time, Julia's eyes drifted into the distance as if she saw something else, but she did not say. When it was late at night, she lay in bed and had trouble sleeping, her mind always remembering that handsome face. By now, it was light, and Julia knew she couldn't hesitate any longer, so she drove back to the clothing store alone. She found the unconscious alien in a field of ruins and dust. Seeing that he was unresponsive, Julia got a cart, put him in the trunk, and left the scene in a hurry. She then found a medical classmate to check the alien's physical condition. Ruslan said that he had no broken bones but had lost a lot of blood. It was urgent to give him a blood transfusion, otherwise, he would have died. Julia, repaying the kindness that saved your life, chooses to take the risk and in the name of her father's military commander goes to the military hospital, treats the alien. Coincidentally, His and the alien's blood types are the same. In this way, the alien gradually recovered under Julia's blood and looked at Julia with deep love in his eyes. But then he fell into a coma again. Then something strange happened. The bracelet on the alien's wrist was inexplicably transferred to Julia's hand. At first, Julia did not care, until she went to take a shower and suddenly found that the water from the shower could flow with the bracelet, suspended in the air to form a wave of water drops. At the same time, military research on the accidental acquisition of the mysterious disc found that it contains unlimited energy, but according to the technology that humanity now has not been able to crack this ultra-advanced product. In addition, trouble ensues as the alien ship suddenly acts like a magnet for some reason. The alien ship suddenly acts like a magnet, absorbing the water nearby. Congress meets again to discuss the best way to fight against the aliens, but due to their fear of alien technology, they finally decided to wait and see what would happen. The alien seems to have sensed the ship and soon wakes up from his coma. He introduces himself as Hakan to Julia in fluent Russian. The landing on Earth was purely accidental, and there was no malice toward humans. The man's face has long bewitched Julia, and her old resentment is gone, but her best friend's death is a fact. So she gives Hakan a set of clothes to put on and lets him leave on his own. As a result, Hakan was caught by a patrol before he could get very far and brought back to the temporary base to register and verify his information. Julia was worried and followed him out just in time to see Hakan's arrest. She had no choice but to come to the base and use her identity as the commander's daughter to bail Hakan out. Hakan tells Julia that the mysterious disc is the ship's power core. Without it, he would not be able to leave. Although they only spent one day together, Julia is already obsessed with this man. She takes the risk again and helps Hakan steal the core energy. She lied that she was 3 months pregnant and that she was bringing her fiancé to meet her father. Due to her daughter's usual chaotic private life, Lebedev didn't even suspect the truth. That's why Julia successfully stole her father's work permit, and Hakan walked into the lab and successfully took out the core energy. By the time the technicians noticed something was wrong, they had already been taken away in the car by Lebedev, who was unaware of the situation. As the quarantine area is heavily guarded during the day, Julia decides to send Hakan to the quarantine area at night. Looking at this ignorance and handsome man in front of her, she felt a bit unwilling to leave him. She wanted to stay by Hakan's side every minute of every day, apparently forgetting about Tyoma as her boyfriend. Tyoma is currently obsessed with the mech and is surprised to find that the inside of the mech produces spikes that infiltration the human body for a perfect fusion. He wanted to hand the mech into the state, but instead, he encountered a riot on the way. Lebedev, who was in charge of suppressing the riot, didn't like him at all, so he was accused of being an accomplice and imprisoned. After this, he decided to take the mech for himself and contacted Julia to come and see it, but she repeatedly refused. Last night he received a report from his man that he had witnessed his girlfriend Julia and the alien Hakan intimately, and he knew that Julia had moved on, but they hadn't broken up yet. Hakan was reluctant to confront the humans and was beaten passively throughout. Julia came forward to stop but was knocked down by Tyoma a slap. Hakan saw intolerable, swinging arms through them one after another. Fly. His strength is much higher than the human. A man sees the situation to pull out a gun sneak attack, but unexpectedly the bullet misses and kills his people. Then the soldiers heard the commotion come. Tyoma and his men rushed to flee the scene, and Hakan and Julia were arrested and brought to Lebedev. Lebedev is very troubled by his daughter and does not know how to deal with her. Julia, who had no idea what to do, grabbed the gun and pointed straight to the head to threaten Lebedev to send Hakan back to the ship. Lebedev has no choice but to give them a car and head for the crash site at full speed. The tricky part is that Tyoma, to avenge death, uses words to incite the crowd to start a riot, vowing to get rid of the aliens and defend the planet that belongs to them. The crowd keeps surging, breaking through the army blockade with the force of death. The soldiers have no time to worry about suppressing the riot, not knowing that the real danger is still behind them. Tyoma puts on the alien mech and heads straight for Hakan's vehicle, throwing him out of the way. Julia suffered a brief coma on impact, and Hakan gets out of the car and confronts Tyoma with his mech. Tyoma has the upper hand on Hakan. Julia wakes up when his life is on the line and slammed the throttle straight into the Tyoma. Tyoma was forced to tear his arm to get out. He wanted to continue his revenge, but the mech was badly damaged and spat him out. Tyoma saw Julia and Hakan embracing again and instantly became furious and picked up a gun and shot them both to pieces. Lebedev and the other aliens see this and immediately stop the firefight. They take Hakan and Julia to the ship and treat them through dormant cabin. Hakan is an immortal body, and to save his beloved one, volunteering to exchange his life for Julia's longevity. In the end, Julia and Lebedev watching the alien ship leave Earth. This cross-species, cross-temporal love affair ends in vain. This is the sci-fi film Moscow Has Fallen. Released in 2017, Earth is undoubtedly perfect for extraterrestrials, with an ideal climate, but the humans who live here are incredibly evil. This disaster would not have happened if the army had not launched missiles on its initiative without knowing the truth. Before the aliens left the Earth, the alien ship with an autonomous consciousness told Lebedev, 4 billion people have death by violence on Earth in the last 5,000 years, and there have been about 15,000 major military conflicts. Humanity is too greedy, and if we continue to plunder resources endlessly, the Earth will eventually be destroyed.